It's not recorded. Yeah, so in next semester, you have to take final year project. So in your final year project, apart from doing your research, which is the science, right? So you have to take a small project. You also have to communicate your research, okay? So how to communicate your research? You have to submit a report. First, for your FYP one, you have to write a proposal, okay? That is one thing. And then you have to also present your proposal at the in the middle of the semester of FYP 1, yeah. And then in FYP 2, you also have to do research. I mean, like you continue the research that you propose in the first in FYP 1, and then you continue do the research. And at the end of the semester, you have to present. You have to submit a report. We call it thesis, yeah, FYP thesis. And then you also have to present, okay? So in order to, how to write a proposal, how to write a final report, because that two documentation are different. So there are certain formats, certain ways how to write a proposal and how to write the report. So we're gonna teach you in this course, and also how to present your proposal. Okay, because when you present, it's different from report. Because presentation, it takes only 10 minutes. So how to present a document that you write for 30 pages, for example, in just 10 minutes. You cannot read anything. I mean, you cannot read everything. You have to skim, you have to select which one is the most important, which one is the key points, right? So how to present a proposal is different from how to present a final report, your final project, your final output, okay? So we're gonna teach you that, yeah, apart from FYP, apart from proposal, oral presentation, another thing that we're gonna teach you in this course is how to prepare a scientific poster, because poster is also another way how we can communicate our science. If you, I think you may see before scientific posters somewhere in conference or in any events or exhibition. So where people present their results, yeah, in a piece of paper, poster, yeah, poster size. So the way how we communicate, how we present the things on a poster is different. There must be certain rule of thumbs. Yeah? So we're gonna teach you also how to prepare a scientific poster in this course. Okay, so basically that's what the course is all about. Let me share you the eLib page. So there is no mid-semester exam. That's a good news, I suppose. Okay, right. Can you see the eLib page now? Yeah, okay.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, thank you. So for the course assessment, no mid-semester exam, but there is a final exam, 30%. But what you have to do is you have to prepare a research proposal, yeah, preparation of mock research proposal, 20%. And then you also have to present your research proposal. This is actually a practice for FYP1, okay? So you have to develop your skills in this course in order to do well in your FYP1. Yeah? So here we train you lah. So you have to write a research proposal that carries 20%, and then you also have to present, that also carries 20%. And then poster, we have poster preparation and also presentation, 20%. And then tutorials and forum, this one depends on the activities that I will give throughout the semester. Okay, like for example, last week I asked you to participate in a forum, right? So I would sum up all those things, yeah, activities, forums, and then it will give this weightage at 10%. Okay, and final exam is 30%. Okay, all right. Okay, so for live lectures, you just join this link, yeah, Telegram channel. That one is just for me to give like quick updates. Please join this Telegram group, not channel actually, group. Yeah. Okay, so that's the introduction. I think I just go directly into our modules. Okay, oh, I forgot to mention there are 10 modules actually. I don't have the files here. Okay, there are 10 modules. 10 modules mean like 10 lectures lah that we have to cover. Okay, so for the first module, it's quite easy. I ask you to watch a recorded lecture, right? And I suppose you have covered it, so I don't have to cover it. And the topic is quite easy. It's like, what is communication? You know, like it's quite basic, and you can understand it quite easily, I suppose. And let's have a look at the module, the lecture notes. Just want to emphasize on things that may be important. So you have to know what is communication. We're not just talking about communication, just communication. We are relating with science, okay? So communication is communication, but when we talk about scientific communication, we are communicating science. What else? Components of communication. There must be sender, there must be a receiver, yeah? And also there must be a medium. Like now I'm talking to you, the medium is Webex, is a online video conferencing. Okay, receiver. What else? Examples of communication. Okay, let's go through by yourself. I think this one is not that really difficult. Okay, the process of communication, it involves encoding on the sender side. Like me, I'm trying to put things into symbols or information or whatever the media, so that you understand. Like I'm putting it in on slides, for example. For on the receiver side, you are decoding the things. You are getting the things from me, and then you try to understand it. Okay, that's decoding. Channel selection. Okay, feedback. Okay, so whenever I give a lecture like this, of course, you must have your own feedback, right? Whether you understand or not what I'm saying, whether my lecture is boring or not, whether, you know, it's relevant or not. So you must have your feedback. So that is a kind of action on the receiver. Okay, what it takes to be an effective communicator. I think I asked this in the forum. I'll go through the answers after this, your answers. Types of communication. Yeah, I've mentioned just now, for what we are focusing, we are focusing on how to write FYP, not FYP, it's like proposal, research proposal, and then research reports, how to present a proposal, how to present a final report, and also poster. Okay. What is scientific communication? Scientific communication is communication that involves scientific results, scientific data, right? So examples of events and also media that involve scientific communication. It can be seminars, conferences, symposiums. Conferences, symposiums are about the same. If you know seminar is like you attend an event where there are speakers delivering their presentations, right? Conferences and symposiums are something like that. So they are an events where researchers gather and they present their results, their outputs, and share with other researchers, and they discuss about it. So that's the purpose of conferences and symposiums. Journals is like a body that that gather papers. Yeah, when we say research paper is like is what is published by journal. Journal is a body. So is there are many scholarly journals. So means that in the world of academia, when I say the world of academia is the world of research, world of academics. Like me, I'm an academic. I'm teaching, and at the same time, I'm also doing research. Lecturers, all lecturers actually. So we are in academia. So it's a field where people is a field that involves lecturers, researchers. Okay, so how we want to get the sources of information. For example, we want to know more about the reports on Escherichia coli. So like me as an academic, I'm not just Googling. Google all the information on websites, they are not that so reliable. They are, not to say they are incorrect, they are correct. You know, like when you Google what is E. coli, they might give you the answer. But if let's say you want to have more information, legit information, so you have to look for reliable sources. So for academics, for researchers, our main source of information are journal papers. Why we look for journal papers? Because journal papers, they are published by other researchers who are doing rigorous research in the lab, okay, rather than people who, let's say, who write on the blog. You know blog, right? So if let's say like me, if let's say I'm not an academic, I'm just a normal person, you know, like I just type things about E. coli on my blog, and then I put it on my website, on my website, and people refer to it. It might be not, it might be true, it might be not true, because the credibility of the person is could be doubtful. Okay, but if let's say we talk about journal papers, that one is less doubt, because we know that they are researchers, they are academics, they belong to certain organization like universities or research institutes, so we can trust what they write. Okay, so that's the reason why in academia, our ultimate source of information is journal papers. Books, books is okay. Journal papers lah, it's more to journal papers. So that's why journals is a very important component of source of information. Sorry. Okay. All right. Books. Okay. Books. Thesis, dissertation. Okay. Thesis dissertations are, for example, like is a report prepared by students after final year project, master degree. Okay, you know, like now you are doing your first degree, right? Bachelor's degree. So after bachelor's degree, after you graduate, if let's say you want to further study, you can choose MSc degree, master, MSc degree by research. So MSc degree is like is a 2-year period of studies where you have to do research, and at the end of that 2 years you have to write a thesis. Like for example, this one, if you see this black book here, is a thesis. Okay, it's a report of your research, so we call it a thesis dissertation. So thesis dissertation, it can refer to FYP, it can refer to master degree, MSc, Master of Science degree by research, and also after master is PhD. PhD is doctoral degree. So doctoral degree, what's the difference between MSc and doctoral degree? Doctoral degree is it requires longer time, so means that the research would be more extensive, would be more in depth. Okay, like master is like 2 years, PhD is about 3 to 4 years, and normally it's 4 years. So it means that you can imagine 4 years spending your time, spending your 4 years in the lab. It means like you are doing a lot of things. So at the end of the PhD studies, you have to write, the candidates have to write the report of all the 4-year work. Okay, so in that report is called thesis. So thesis refers to reports of research done by final year project students, MSc students, and also PhD students. Okay, so that's thesis. Sometimes people call dissertation, but it refers to the same thing. And at the end of why they submit that document is because they want to get the degree. For example, FYP is part of the bachelor's degree requirement. So without taking FYP, you cannot complete, you don't fulfill your bachelor's degree, right? So you cannot get the degree. So you have to fulfill that FYP. So that's why you have to write the thesis. And same goes to MSc. Without that report, there will be no examination. Examination for the MSc and PhD are oral presentation. We call it viva. So it must be submitted lah. So that reports, that thesis or dissertation. Okay, so that's part of the scientific communication. And then other forms of scientific communication, we have this kind of competition normally among the postgraduates. Postgraduates are MSc and PhD students. It's called 3-minute thesis. It means that they have to present their thesis in 3 minutes. So can you imagine that you have written like 200 pages of report, and how you want to present that 200 pages of report in just 3 minutes? So of course there must be certain skills, certain ways like how to create that presentation. Okay, that's another form of scientific communication. Scientific communication can also happen on social media. Okay, that one we call normally is like a scientific communication. When we say scientific communication, it refers to something something like more formal. But when we say science communication is more casual. Science, there is actually a difference like. Yeah, science communication, when you say science communication, it can happen on social media as well. Yeah, so if you are following biotechnologies at Unimas, are you following the Insta page? So you can see there's so many posts on biotech that we post. So that's an example of science communication. We are also on TikTok, but we're not that really active. Okay, so social media lah. And also, if let's say on discussion on Clubhouse, for example, or Twitter, what do you call it? Twitter Live. They have a forum on Twitter. What do you call it? Twitter Live. That one lah, that kind of things. Social media.
There's a person is waiting to enter.
Oh, sorry. It shouldn't be. I don't know why I said it. Twitter Space. Yes, there's the name. Yeah. Sorry for this person. Okay. Yeah, Twitter Space. That's the name. Okay. Lagi. Okay, the last one. This one is a bit important. Okay, this is just to actually describe in a process of research, because we are talking about scientific communication, means that we want to communicate our science. So what are the examples of communication that exist throughout the research? Okay, so once we, for example, we start any new research, okay, means that we start science lah, because research is associated with science. And then what are the what form of communication exists? Okay, so when we do a research, when we want to start a research, we have to write a research proposal. So the same thing when you start your FYP later, you have to write a research proposal. So if you see the green box here, this is an example of communication output research proposal. And also you have to present this research proposal. Okay, so so that is when you initiate a research. So during the research, okay, you have some progress. Obviously, you have some progress. So you have to submit what we call progress report. So in FYP1, there is a progress report. So you have to present your proposal in the middle of the semester one, so that at the end of the semester one, you have to submit a progress report. So that's just for you to know for FYP1. So progress report is it exists in the middle of the research. Okay, so once the research is completed, okay, once you have done your FYP2, for example, you have results, you have good results, then you have to write a report, FYP2 report or a thesis, okay? And apart from the thesis, you can also present your results in poster. Let's say you want to attend a conference, you want to share your FYP results. So what you can do after that, you know, like the form of communication that can exist is a poster, scientific poster, thesis. You can also, if let's say you want to present your results orally, okay, you can present an oral presentation, and also the outputs of that oral presentation will be included in conference reports or conference proceedings. Okay. And apart from that, it's not, I mean, after you finish your research, you can actually present in many ways. Oral presentation, you can produce your thesis, you can produce poster, because you have results. So it's not just ended in the thesis. So that's what it means here. After the research complete, you can go here, you can go for poster, you can also publish a paper, a journal paper. Just now I mentioned about journal, right? Journal is a body that compile all the research papers. So you can write a paper. We call it, anyone still waiting outside? Let me know, because I don't realize. Ada lagi ke yang tak ada? Okay, so I'm here just now. So once you finish your research, you can, let's say you want to write a paper. Paper means like journal paper yang you baca. You pernah baca tak journal paper? Have you read journal paper before?
Yes, doctor.
I'm sure you have, right? Yes, okay. So the process of, let's say, journal paper tu, we call it paper because it has been published. There is a difference. Now we see the word manuscript. Manuscript means a draft. Okay, before it is published by the journal, when you write it, okay, it is called draft. Tapi dalam academia we call it manuscript. Manuscript, that's the term that refers to a draft of paper. Okay, so you write a draft. I mean, that's the manuscript you send to the journal. Journal tu akan they will review your paper. Okay, they will see whether this one is correct or not, and then how they do that, they will send your manuscript to 2 reviewers. Examiners lah, tapi we don't say examiners, it's like reviewers. Who are the reviewers? Reviewers are academics all around the world. It can be anyone in the academia. Yeah? So it means that they can be a professor from, let's say I want to submit to journal, biotech journal, research biotech journal, for example. I want to submit my manuscript, and then the journal will assign professor in that, not professor, not just professor, it's any expertise, any expert in that area. Okay, let's say my field is fermentation. So they will contact like 2 reviewers in that field, and the reviewers will review my manuscript, and they will give comments whether this manuscript is good or not. Okay, sometimes in the decision level, they have certain levels. They can accept without correction. They can accept with minor revision, means that they have some comments and like I have to improve my manuscript, do some correction, and then submit again to the journal, and only then they can publish. They can be accepted with major revision. Okay, major revision means like lots of things to be corrected, but still accepted. And they also have reject. I mean, they can also reject the manuscripts if, let's say, the manuscript is not in a good quality. Okay, so that is the level of decision by the journal. So once let's say they have accepted the manuscript, so only then they publish. They call it publish. When they accept, they publish. Okay, let's say in this edition, the paper is listed in this in whatsoever edition. Okay, they have every journal, it has on its own edition. For example, like they have 2 editions per year. So let's say in January and in July. Okay, so in January, these are the list of the papers published. So that is what we mean by publication. Whether the manuscript. So once the manuscript is published, they are called articles or journal papers. Okay, journal papers or articles. So you can see here, articles. At this point, we don't call manuscript anymore. Yeah, so that's the difference between manuscript and articles. So articles in indexes and abstracts. So once the journal has published the articles, okay, so it can be viewed on the website. If let's say you look for research, whatever the name of the papers, and you can see the articles, okay, and you can use the articles, cite the articles for your report, for example. So only then the papers can be cited. Okay, what is citation? Citation is when you, let's say, you know, for your FYP proposal, you want to prepare your proposal, you read articles and you want to cite. Cite means that you state the facts stated by the article, and you put the reference at the end of your sentence. For example, macam apa ya, statement, Escherichia coli can ferment sucrose, glucose, and fructose. And you got that fact from a paper written by Lim et al. 2021. Okay, so you have to write Lim et al. 2021 at the end of the sentence in bracket. So that is citation. Yeah. Okay. So that, I think that explains this slide. I hope you understand better. Okay, so that's what you covered in module 1. Let's go directly to today's module. Any questions so far?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Yeah, so please take note on certain terminologies, because now you are moving a little farther than where you were. Yeah, you are in 2nd year, so you are entering 3rd year next semester. So you can familiarize yourself with the research terminologies lah, because FYP you have to do research, right? So means that you have to know what is manuscript. When the lecturers mention about manuscript, you have to know about it. Article journal papers are the same. They are just used interchangeably. Means that sometimes people use, sometimes like me, I would, okay, please refer to the articles. Please refer to journal papers. Is actually the same. Journal papers and articles are the same. Okay, so if let's say your supervisor next semester ask you to, you know, find articles, find journal papers, find papers, please don't be confused. Okay, it means that it refers to the same thing. Okay, what else today? Journal papers, articles, citation. Citation kena tahu citation. How to do citation? Citation means, if let's say, what happens if you don't cite? Why it is important that whenever you get some facts from certain articles, like just now the statement E. coli can ferment sucrose, glucose, and fructose is a very simple statement. Okay, so you read that fact from an article written by, let's say, by Ahmad et al. 2021. Okay, but what happened if, let's say, you write the same fact, okay, there are other things. You cannot copy the exact sentence, right? That one I think you know. Otherwise, you are called plagiarizing. Yeah, you have to paraphrase. There is another term that you have. You please jot down these terms because it's very important. Let's try to share the screen so that I can scribble Okay, today what are the terminologies that you have learned? Okay. Nampak clear tak?
Clear, Doctor.
Okay. Then let me jot down the terms that we have come across just now. Terminologies. Manuscript. Okay, I've talked about manuscript just now. Journal. Journal. If you talk about journal only, is the is a body. Journal tu macam mana cakap? Publisher. It's not publisher. Satu badan lah yang publish journal papers. Okay. So when we talk about journal papers, papers that are published by journals. Okay. And this one is also equal to articles. Sometimes lecturers also say articles, find articles. It means find journal papers lah. Journal papers mean papers that are published by journals, bukan daripada website ke apa. Or it's also, we also sometimes say papers. Find papers on this and this. So it's the same thing, journal papers actually, or articles. Okay. Oh, it's what? Citation tadi. What is citation? Citation tadi kan, you have to cite. Okay, so now what the importance of citation is to avoid from plagiarizing. You know plagiarizing, plagiarism? When you are taking some information from others without giving credits. Okay, I mentioned just now about paraphrasing, paraphrase. Okay, what is paraphrase? So tadi kan, kenapa, why we have to cite? Because we do not want to be, we do not want to plagiarize. Kan? Tapi kalau let's say article 1 says that this is the actual sentence from the article. Let's say E. coli can ferment. This is, let's say, this one written by Lim et al. Okay. Can ferment sucrose, glucose, and fructose. Okay, so let's say this is what is written by Lim et al. Okay, you read an article, you come across this sentence. So if let's say you want to use this, you want to include this fact and put in your research proposal or your writing, okay, you cannot copy the whole sentence kan, sebab itu adalah sentence by Lim. So if you copy it, Turnitin will detect it similarly, 100% similarly, and it will increase your similarity index. So what you have to do is you have to paraphrase. Paraphrase, that's this term is all about. Paraphrase means you change the sentence, but still maintaining the same content, the same fact. Okay, E. coli can ferment sucrose, glucose, and fructose. So how to change it? It's a bit tricky. If you are trying it for the first time, tapi kalau if you practice and practice and practice, you can develop the skill lah. So how to change it? E. coli can ferment sucrose, glucose, and fructose. So another way is amongst the sugars that can be fermented. Now I'm trying to paraphrasing, okay? So I have to create my own sentence, but I still maintaining the point. Among the sugars that can be fermented, by E. coli include OR sucrose, glucose, and fructose. Okay. Now, okay, this is original. This is original sentence. So this is my sentence. This is my sentence. I want to put this in my report. So I have to cite Lim et al. Because it's from Lim. Lim et al. 2020. Okay. So that's the right way how I cite and how I paraphrase. Okay. This thing you have to learn. You have to learn because you're going to write a lot of this kind of things in your FYP, proposal and report. Okay. So the way how I change the sentence, that's called paraphrasing. Paraphrase. I paraphrase the sentence so that it doesn't sound the same. But of course, certain terminologies, you have to know that certain terminologies like sucrose, glucose, fructose, E. coli, that one cannot be changed. That's understood. We understand that if, let's say, you don't change it, sucrose to something else, we understand it because it's a term, it's a scientific term. So it's fine for you to retain that terms, but other sentences, other words, it can be changed. Okay, from like I change it the other way around. Like instead of saying E. coli and this and this, I put it different way lah. Okay, this is paraphrasing. Okay, so citation, this one is citation. This one is citation. So without this citation, if let's say I put only this, let's say I don't put here, I don't put Lim at all. Although I have paraphrase, right? I have paraphrase, I don't copy it directly. It sounds good, like it doesn't sound the same. But if let's say without this citation, it is still considered plagiarizing. Okay, so plagiarizing, there are two things. First, if let's say, okay, if let's say I copy the same thing, the same sentence, okay, the same sentence, but let's say macam I letaklah citation at the end too because I got it from Lim. Tapi the sentence is the same. Okay, now Lim et al. 2020. Yeah? Okay, so in the first case, I put citation, but I don't paraphrase. It is called plagiarizing. It is also plagiarizing. Sebab I cakap tadi kan yang ni adalah the original sentence from Lim. The second sentence, okay, if let's say this one doesn't appear, Lim et al. Doesn't appear, I paraphrase, but I don't cite. It is also called plagiarizing. So plagiarism, it can happen in two conditions like that. Okay, so you have to take care of it. You have to cite, you have to paraphrase. So that's two things are needed in order to avoid plagiarism. I hope you are clear now. Any question? This one kena clear tau sebab you kena apply the right techniques, the right principles when you are writing. Okay, so that's why you have to understand the terminology ni: manuscript, journal paper, citation, paraphrase. Paraphrase means you change the sentence. Okay, that's just the beginning. Masih banyak lagi yang kena belajar ni. Okay, the second module. So we are talking about scientific communication. Okay, in the first module, you know about communication. What is communication? When it comes to scientific communication, what kind of things, like what forms of scientific communication would exist in science. Okay, here module 2, we are talking about fundamental research concepts. Okay, kenapa nak study pasal research pula? Why we want to associate with research? Because we are scientists, and when we do research, research is our science. Okay, so before we communicate our science, we have to make sure that our science is correct. Okay, we do not want to communicate fake science. ataupun what we call pseudoscience. Do you know what pseudoscience? I think this thing is very commonly mentioned on social media. You are social media generation, you must be alert with those terms or trends. Pseudoscience means science yang is not correct, fake science, so something is not incorrect science, incorrect science, pseudoscience they call it. So don't be pseudoscientist, don't be someone that do incorrect science, pseudoscience. So we do not want pseudoscience. So in order to make sure that we communicate correct science, we have to do correct science first. So we have to know what is the fundamental of research, what is the fundamental of science. So this one is also important before we talk about communication. So in this part, in this module, we're going to cover what is research, what are types of research, principle of research, scientific investigation method, steps, and also finally the measurement. Okay, so we talk about research. Okay, research ni adalah what is the difference between research and experiment? Can anyone tell me? You have been doing lots of experiments, right? Since your high school, matriculation, Form 6, you start even since you're in Form 1, okay, you ambil science subject, ada experiment. What is experiment? What is research? What's the difference between experiment and research? Can someone tell me? I'm sure you know, at least you know something about experiment. What is experiment? Hello? Anybody home? Ada orang kat sini? Ke saya cakap seorang ni? There are 26 of you. Okay. What is experiment? How it differs from research? Oh, kalau you nak check pun boleh. Is the medium to obtain result for research or good? Yeah, that's very good. It's the medium to obtain result for research. Okay, so means that you put apa ni distinction between experiment and research. Okay, yeah, correct. Is the medium to obtain result for research. What else? What do you understand from the word experiment? Okay, you can say what is you can give your opinion about what is experiment and what is the difference between research and experiment. Experiments are used to prove the research we are doing. Yes, correct. Thank you, Irfan. Thank you, Aiman. Lagi? What else? Experiment is the conclusion of any effect on of any effect on an object. Conclusion of any effect on an object. Conclusion is included in the experiment. That one I can, yeah. Conclusion, yes, correct. Conclusion in the in the experiment there is a conclusion. That's what I can say. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Experiments are always about changing one variable to see what the effect is on another variable for the research purpose. Yes, correct. So experiment, there is a variable. Yeah, you would see the effect on another variable, and it's for the research purpose. Okay, research is useful to gather data. Experiment is useful in finding out the cause. Yes, when we talk about research, you are gathering data. Experiment, yeah. Experiment useful in finding out the cause. Means that you have to do experiment in order to find the cause. And actually the cause is the data. I mean, it will contribute to the data. Yeah, thank you. Lagi? Difference. Okay, now I want to know about what's the difference between experiment and research. Is it the same?
No, doctor.
No, okay. So what's the difference? Apa bezanya? Okay, now you are doing FYP kan? FYP nanti, final year project. Is it a research or is it a project? Is it a research or is it an experiment? Is it a research or is it an experiment?
I
FYP.
think both, doctor.
Both. Okay. Okay. Why you say both? Research, yes. Yeah, I agree. It's a research. Someone answer research. Both also correct. Why you say both? You have to why you say both? Eh, mana tadi? Why you say both?
I think both because both is needed in order for us to conduct our FYP. I think.
Okay. Right. Okay. Thank you for your answer. Okay. So apa beza research and experiment ni? Research ni it sounds big. It sounds bigger actually. Experiment ni, when you do experiment, what does when you do experiment, longer. Tak connect . Okay. So research experiment. Okay, experiment. You banyak buat eksperimen kan? Masa form 1, form 2 sampai matric sampai form 6 first year. So experiment is like very small work. Small work. Maknanya you buat eksperimen tentang titration. Apa ni yang chemistry kan? Okay. And it's just about titration. It's very small. But when we talk about research constitutes lots of experiment. If you just now I asked you, FYP is what? FYP is a research. Final year project is an example of research. So in the research, you have lots of experiment. Betul tak? So maknanya research ni ada banyak eksperimen yang you buat. Countless. I do not know if let's say when I did my FYP, when I did my master degree and PhD degree, it's like tak terkira number of experiment. I did experiment on this and this and this sampai benda tu, those experiments, it will give you stories. Okay? Itu yang akan membentuk research. Dia akan, research is actually a big thing lah. It covers many experiments. So it's part of it, experiment is part of research. Research is part of experiment. Research is actually the motivation lah to do the experiment. Okay, so that's the difference. So meaning to say that for your FYP, please do not expect that you would just do 1 experiment, 2 experiment, 3 experiment. You hanya buat 3 saja. Ataupun when you plan, okay, you ada 12 runs. Normally we say runs or experiments. 12 experiments. Okay, that's it. Okay, that I'm gonna finish 12 experiment. Unfortunately, it's not. Dia tak kira lagi error. Error maknanya eksperimen you tak jadi, buat lagi. So maknanya dalam FYP nanti, because FYP is the nearest, your nearest milestone in your research, is in your future research, like FYP, you are going to do lots of experiment, then be ready with it. Okay, be ready with it means that you have to plan from the beginning. Maknanya planning kena ni lah, kena proper lah, and then you have to be ready physically and mentally. Okay, I banyak membebel pasal FYP because you guys will do your FYP next year, next semester. Yeah, so I think it's very timely for me to give an advice. Sebab ramai bila start FYP, diorang expect hanya buat sikit je eksperimen, 3 eksperimen saja, but it's not. FYP kena actually every time you enter the lab, when you do something in the lab, that is an experiment. So you just imagine how many days you spend in the lab. So how many experiments that you're going to do. And having said that, you kena prepare daripada from the beginning of the semester. Maknanya kena start awal. Okay, kena start awal because we do not know in this pandemic, especially, there's so many uncertainties. The lab is closed. You cannot work after certain period, certain hour, kan? So you dalam research ni dia komitmen kena tinggi, ya. So eksperimen tu adalah salah satu, just macam a very tiny things of research. And whatever you plan tu kadang-kadang tak jadi, dan kadang-kadang you kena buat lebih. Kadang you rasa you hanya buat, okay, ada 12 eksperimen saja yang kena buat. Tapi sebenarnya you kena buat 24 because you have errors. Or maybe 36 experiment, maybe double than that or triple. Okay, so eksperimen tu hanyalah suatu, it's actually only one ni lah, salah satu whatever the things that you do every day sebenarnya. Yeah? So that's the difference between research and experiment. So when we talk about research, it's a big thing, FYP, final year project. They say project lah, kita project to research lah. Master degree, the whole thing, master degree. You imagine 2 years spending in the lab, 2 years of work. So berapa banyak eksperimen? It's actually more than 100 eksperimen. Yeah? So eksperimen tu hanya melibatkan benda yang kecil saja. So if let's say you want to use the term, you have to use the term correctly. You cannot say that in this, if let's say in your report, especially in your FYP report after FYP 2, you cannot say that instead of saying in this project, sometimes the students say in this experiment, tapi dia actually nak refer kepada semua FYP tu. That is incorrect lah. So eksperimen tu berbeza dengan research. Okay, back to here. What is research? Research is a systematic, formal, rigorous, and precise process employed to gain solutions to problems or to discover and interpret new facts and relationships. Okay, I point out important terms: organized, systematic, precise process, formal, rigorous, empirical, critical investigation. Okay, so whenever you start any project, any research, we have to know apa sebenarnya, what is actually the problem that you want to solve. Okay, that's actually what is meant here. To gain solution to problems, or to discover and interpret new facts and relationships. So if let's say for let's say FYP nanti, of course the topics will be given by your supervisors, but you have to know, you have to investigate jugalah. Okay, kenapa supervisor you bagi tu? You kena faham apa sebenarnya, what is actually the underlying problem that you want to solve in your research. Okay, so apa sebenarnya? What is the problem statement? Contohnya, let's say your supervisor bagi tajuk bioethanol fermentation by a new yeast strain. Contohlah. Okay. So what is the problem? Problem kenapa projek tu diwujudkan? So what is the problem? Because the new yeast strain tu has not yet reported in the literature, tapi dia ada potensi untuk menghasilkan bioethanol. So you want to study, you want to know the potential of that strain, that yeast. Okay, that is that is basically lah. I don't go into detail, but you have to know the reason of that research, why the research is initiated. Okay, and then in order to so you have identified the problem, why it is created, and you have to plan. You have to plan, meaning to say that you cannot cover everything. So that's why it's here. There is a systematic, precise process ni. Systematic maknanya, walaupun it involves like strain, like a certain yeast strain you want to produce bioethanol, and you know that there are many factors that can affect, for example, bioethanol fermentation, but you cannot study all. You cannot study all. Why? Because, for example, FYP is only for certain a few months. It's not even a year, right? It's just like half the amount of time that you spend in the lab is just like, I think, about 4 to 5 months or 6 months the most. So maknanya dalam masa yang 4 to 5 months tu is very limited. You cannot cover everything. So you must set the target. You must set the objectives. So normally for FYP, we set 2 objectives. You want to look for the effect of maybe the effect of temperature on bioethanol fermentation by the yeast, the effect of pH on this. Okay, so that are examples of the objective. Temperature and pH, they are parameters, but the objective is to look at the effects of that. So you have to define your objective. So that's why there are the organized objectives ni, organized objective and reliable way. Okay, so if let's say you want to that one is FYP. If let's say you want to do MSc, master, you have 2 years. So of course you have more time. So you can target more lah. You can set more objectives. Instead of 2, you can set 6 objectives, for example. Okay. So that's the difference. So organized, reliable way. So you must set target. Maknanya research ni must find answer the problem. Okay, so set target, set the objective. Okay, so and is in a systematic way. Kenapa systematic? Because you have to plan your work, because you only have 5 months. You cannot macam buat kerja dalam lab blindly. Yeah? So if you don't have plan, you akan spend masa banyak dengan benda-benda yang salah ke, ataupun benda-benda yang tak memberi result. So you have to be systematic. So that's the definition of research. Okay. So so from now you have to set your mind lah. You kena ready. Bila you masuk lab next semester, or you take FYP, you kena ready. You kena ada plan. You have to be systematic. You have to know your target. You have to know your priority. You kena tahu apa benda semua tu so that you tak lost lah. So FYP ni dia is different. You have to be independent most of the time. Supervisor ada, tapi supervisor hanya untuk check your work whether it's correct or not. Betul tak you buat plan macam ni. Tapi method semua you kena cari. You have to be independent. So that is actually the starting point where you have to be independent. It's different from other courses. Like courses macam ni kita provide lecture notes. You don't have to even cari banyak sangat lah. Tapi kalau research ni, everything in the lab you have to look for yourself most of the time. Okay, why do we do research? Of course, we want to increase the to generate theory, to test a theory, to generate more knowledge. Okay, kalau tak ada research, tak ada new information kan. Kalau tak ada, kalau let's say orang tak buat research pasal vaccine, so we do not know what is actually how to create vaccine. I mean, it's based on research. It's based on continuous research by the scientists, by the researchers. Research is also the engine of invention and innovation. So how we get all this, for example, the internet, the computer, the mobile phones, is based on the research of people in that field. Kan? So that sort of things are innovation. Kan? Product yang created from the research. Okay. So vaccine is also an innovation. Antibiotics, apa lagi? Biotech products, there are so many biotech products. Food, there are so many fermented food, bread, yogurt. So tu semua, of course our ancestors dulu dia orang buat fermentation without knowing that is science, but actually throughout the time people have improved the production of milk, the production of bread. Yeah, so that's examples of innovation from the research. Okay, to discover knowledge, breakthroughs of problems, yeah, I've mentioned about it. Publication and commercialization. Okay, publication tadi is like if you have results, you can publish in the journal papers, in journals, in books. Yeah? Commercialize. Commercialize. Let's say you found a new vaccine. Yeah? You can commercialize actually, and you can gain profit from it. Yeah? I suppose those that created COVID-19 vaccine is very rich now because they actually commercialize their vaccines. So itu dia punya benefit lah daripada situ. Okay, this is an example of research. Okay, so this one is example of research on the use of coffee ground, spent coffee ground. What they use with the coffee ground, they use it as a substrate for producing biofuel, where the fuel can be used by vehicles, for example, buses. Yeah? Example of biotech research. Research are conducted based on the systematic collection and analysis of data. Data is collected in an ordered manner with a purpose in mind, including certain rules about the mode of collection. Okay, so whenever you are in the lab later, you have to plan your work. You have to plan the way how you measure the things or how you collect the data. So that's why it's systematic collection and analysis of data. It means that it's not just that, macam for example, if you run fermentation. Fermentation is a process where you grow the microbes, for example. Okay, how you want to know whether the microbes grow well? So you have to collect the samples let's say every 2 hours. Every 2 hours. So that shows that you are doing in a systematic way. It's not that you collect the data 1 minute and after that 1 hour and then after that 2 hours. That's not systematic. Okay, so in the lab we really have to practice systematic ways of collecting the data. Okay, how do we do research? Okay. Yeah, I have a question. This is actually a question. So the question is, how do we do research? So can you answer whether it's A or B? Oh, I have to do this poll then. I create a poll in the Telegram channel. You answer this question. Wait, anyone tak masuk lagi? Semua dah masuk kan? Poll. Hold on. How research. Okay, I created the poll. Can you answer that? You can answer either A or B. This lecture is recorded. So later after the class, I will post on Ellipse. So those who have missed the early part of the lecture, you can just go through the recorded lecture after this. Okay. 59% answered, no, 57 answered A, 43% answered B. Okay. Keep going. 25 votes already. 24. How many of you here? 26. Two more person. Okay, why you answer A, why you answer B? There must be a reason for that. Okay. So 56% answered A. Why you answer A? And 46% answered B. 54. Okay. 54% answered A. Okay, why A? You can you can drop your answer in the chat box. Why A? What's the reason for A? And why B? Those who answer A, please. Can you please answer why you answer A? Hey, come on. You must have your own reason why you answer A or B, right? What do you understand from this diagram? And why A, why B? Right? Kenapa A, kenapa B? Why A? Your research is here and then it is in other research and in other research and other research. Why you think A is correct and why you think B is correct? Hey, come on. I tak nak lama-lama sangat ni. A, because if we can find the unanswered question from the previous research, if we can find the unanswered question from previous research. Okay, thank you. I choose A because research is continuous process of checking and rechecking. Okay, thank you for the answer. B, come on. To avoid same mistake made according to the previous research for A. To avoid same mistake made according to previous research for A. Okay, so these are from team A, right? A. Okay, for B, why you choose B? Why just B? Thank you for those who answer for A. Kenapa B? Apa beza B dengan A tu? Previous research. B, because the previous research might not related to each other, but some of them might be related to current research. Good, very good. Any more? B? Thank you for your answer. Okay, so the answer is I choose B because research rediscovered new things and do little rechecking by previous research. Correct? Yeah, thank you. So what do you think the answer is? B, because we only use certain information from the previous, not all of it, since we will conduct a different research. Very good. Yeah. So the answer is B. Okay. Why B? Because I agree with all these things. Okay, the answer is B. Okay, thank you for those who answer for A. I mean, you have some points there, but actually it should be, it should be directed to B. Okay, why is B? Is because, right, if you see here, this is, when we do research is, it should be a new thing, but not entirely new. I choose B because I think that we should understand past research, but not referring them all. Research is meant, yeah, correct. It's to be doing new things, in my opinion. Okay, so when you do research, it's because you want to answer certain questions. Remember the definition of research just now. We want to answer certain questions that is not yet answered. Okay, we want to answer certain questions that are not yet answered by researchers in the past. Yeah, certain questions not yet answered. Okay, but some of you that answer, I mean, you give some points for A tadi kan, you have some points actually. Let me combine it. Yeah, okay, so basically when we do research, why we do research? Because that sort of area is not yet being investigated by others. You cannot find that information in the journal, in the literature. We call it literature. When we say literature, this is another term for you. Literature, it means like in the collection of the articles, in the collection of the information in the past, literature. So that's why you do the research. But you cannot, of course, we cannot come up with an area that is entirely new. We cannot, because sometimes there is an overlap, but there is still a gap. Okay, so that's why I explain B first. Yeah, that's why your research, sometimes you are talking about, maybe you are investigating E. coli. E. coli is a very popular strain, but there are some people that also maybe they have studied about E. coli on, for example, on media. Media adalah food kepada bacteria, but they haven't studied, let's say, they talk about, this is what is meant by this is overlap kan. Overlap means there is a common area. For example, media. You want to investigate the best media for E. coli. Some people have studied about it, but they do not study about maybe glucose, the effect of sucrose, for example. Okay, so that is the gap. They talk about other things, other similar components of media, but they don't talk about the effect of sucrose on E. coli. So that is the thing that will actually build the gap between your work and their work. Okay, so that's here. Let's say the things that has not been studied yet, maybe sucrose macam tu. And also from other research lah, sama juga. So maknanya there is a similarity, a little bit similarity, but this person does not investigate this. So that is actually what you want to investigate. Okay, so that's why B is correct, because there will always be an overlap. Overlap ni adalah benda-benda yang sama lah, benda-benda yang sama dengan research orang lain. Tapi you ada extra things that you want to explore, which is actually this part that is not overlap. Kan? The part that is not overlap. Yang ni lah, semua ni. A is not correct because your research, now if you see here the diagram, is overlaps with others. Maknanya you buat apa orang lain yang dah buat. So maknanya dia tak ada new thing. Of course you macam mana macam tadi lah, dia boleh overlap ni boleh, tapi you must come up with extra things that you want to investigate. Okay, overlap ni tak salah sebenarnya, tapi dia mesti ada extra things. That's what I can say. Okay, tapi if you see this diagram, the whole thing is overlap with other people, so that is not correct lah. Sebab ini, this one is not called research anymore. It's called repetition. Repetition maknanya you repeat apa orang lain buat. So it's not a research. Research must be something new lah. Okay, I hope that's clear. And what is actually what is the message of this diagram? Dia adalah problem. What we call it? Problem gap study. Research gap, sorry. I forgot that word. You have to know this term actually, research gap. This is another terminology that you learn, literature satu, research gap. So what is research gap? It's a gap lah, gap. Gap tu gap kan, beza. The gap, this is the gap. Semua tu yang tak overlap tu adalah research gap. So if let's say later in your FYP, you will be asked, what is the research gap of your project? So you have to know what is the difference of your project with others. So you must come up with justification lah. Okay, the research gap of my project is this part, which has not been studied by others so far, to the best knowledge, to the best of my knowledge. So you have to know this research gap. This is another term that you have to know in research. Okay, all right. Okay, back to our lecture. I try to finish to speed up. Sorry for the ada banyak ni lah, banyak macam kaitkan dengan FYP. Okay, types of research. Basic application. Types of research. So research ada, if we talk about science even, there are basic science, there are applied science. Biotech ni kat mana? You have to know your field better. Is it a basic science or is it an applied science? Siapa boleh jawab? Ini soalan penting ni sebab you biotechnologist. You mesti tahu. Apa beza you dengan plant science? Apa beza you dengan plant science? Apa lagi? Zoology, animal science, aquatic science? Applied science, yes. Aiman cakap, Payson cakap applied science juga, ya? Yes, correct. It's applied science. Okay, applied science. Kenapa applied science? Biotechnology. We are actually applying the use of biological organisms untuk application, many applications. If you see, we are talking about genetic engineering, genetically modified plants, genetically modified organisms plants contohnya is actually to solve the problems of many problems of agriculture kan. So it's for application. Okay, so remember this, please remember. Biotech is an applied science. Jangan cakap basic science. Basic science ni, ada orang, saya ada lagi yang kat luar. Basic science ni, kalau you study basic science macam plant, contohnya plant kan, plant science, you study pasal the structure, the whatever the division of plants, tapi you tak kaitkan dengan application. That is basic. Basic tu adalah basic lah, benda yang basic saja. Kalau applied ni, you study microbiology, you nak apply it for certain application. You want to produce genetically modified organism, untuk apa? Produce lots of products. Itu application, okay? So you have to know. So you have to know lah your field better. Methods of research, objective purposes apa ni? Exploratory, descriptive, explanatory, correlational. Objective purposes. Okay, methods of research, qualitative, quantitative. So kalau if let's say the research can be divided into qualitative. Qualitative means like we are talking about the quality. Quality. Contohnya, what are, for example, if let's say you are observing the morphology of structure under the microscope. So you have to describe whether it is in rod shape, it is in sphere shape. Itu qualitative. Quality, the quality. You are explaining about the color, the stain, the gram stain turns into pink or purple. That's the quality. Okay. Quantitative is something related to the number, the quantity. How much is the production of certain metabolites? So it must be with number. Yeah, I think this one is quite clear because you have studied statistics and so that kind of types of research lah. Okay. Principle of research. Ni philosophy of research ni ada, this is a bit theoretical sebenarnya. Apa ni? Structure of research. So if you think about this hourglass, sand glass, it resembles, actually the structure of the research resembles this hourglass. Kenapa? Is because whenever you identify certain problems, you want to identify certain problems that has not been answered yet in the literature, okay? So you go to a very broad perspective, okay? So here, it's actually here. So you nak cakap, the use of, for example, this new strain of yeast has not been tested for bioethanol production. Okay, that is very broad actually. But when you try to focus on it, you want to narrow it down. Okay, maybe you want to study, you want to just select few things that you want to study. You set 2 objectives, for example. So that is when you try to narrow down your research. So it means that, okay, I want to focus on the effect of temperature, the effect of pH on bioethanol fermentation by this yeast. Okay, that is when you narrow it down. So at that point, you are reaching this middle point. Tengok dia semakin sempit kan? Okay, once you do the research, okay, you get the results, and then you try to relate it back with the broad perspective that you have initially. So, ini maknanya masa you nak conclude, masa you nak, let's say you want, once you have the results, you want to conclude the results. So you have to relate back. Okay, maknanya temperature, pH, it gives, they give an effect on the bioethanol fermentation. So that is where you try to go back lah to the. So in any, that one is just an example. So in any research is the same. So you pergi kepada broad perspective, and then you, when you narrow it down is when you set the objective. So you cannot do everything. You cannot study everything. You have to set a few targets of your study. So this study only targets this thing. Okay, so that's the narrow part in the middle. Okay, I don't go word by word lah, just go the main point. Okay, so in research also there are two types of approaches, deduction and induction. So what's the difference? So deduction is when you start with a theory, okay, a theory that might have been claimed by other researchers or scientists, and maybe you want to confirm, you want to check, or maybe you want to investigate more. So it means that when we start with a theory, it's called deductive reasoning or deduction. Okay, so you see it starts with a theory. Okay, induction means at the end you produce that theory. Means you start first with whatever the observation or results that you have, and at the end what you conclude is the theory. Okay, so that's the difference. Oh, another thing that you have to know is hypothesis. You already know hypothesis, right? Hypothesis is very important in research. Is an assumption that you make before you start your research. Okay, so it means that you expect what to get. What do you believe you will get? Of course, there might be a few outcomes can. Maybe it will produce this and this. So hypothesis, it will, you have to set the hypothesis. Okay, positivism and post-positivism. Apa benda ni? So this is more to what happened in the history lah, how they relate with science. They believe that science is the means for solving things or for understanding things lah. I think this one you can read by yourself. Okay, validity. Okay, so in doing research, we have to know whether what kind of validity that we are testing. Okay, contohnya macam mana ya? Okay, I give you. Is a major criteria for quality of measurement. The best available approximation to the truth. Okay, validity maknanya kita nak tengok sama ada whenever what we are measuring is really true or not to the real value. Okay, contohnya, let's say you have why this validity is important, because whenever you design an experiment, it's very important for you to make sure that what you measure fulfill what you are looking for. You know what I mean? Okay, for example, this example, 2 agriculture officers were testing which of the 3 fertilizers is the best for growing chilies. One officer uses the following parameters: rate of growth, age of flowering, height of plant. When the data was analyzed, he came to a conclusion that fertilizer X is the best. A second agricultural officer is performing the same test but uses the following parameters: rate of growth, age to bear fruits, total weight of fruits. When the data was analyzed, he concluded that fertilizer Y is the best. So it means that here, if you see the things that these 2 officers are measuring are different. So it will lead to different conclusion. So it depends lah. Maknanya contohnya, let's say here the objective is to test which one is the best for growing chilies. So it means that the parameter yang you are measuring, it must be valid. It must be valid in a way that actually answers this problem. Okay, maknanya contohnya, which one is actually the best here? Aku tak tahu yang mana ni. Height of plants. Age of flowering, total weight of fruits. Mungkin yang ni kot yang lebih valid, because it's something to do with the chilies, the fruits. Rate of growth is the same. Age of flowering, height of plant. Not really sure whether it's, yeah. Let's say this one is actually more valid lah kan. So what's the difference? In the first condition, bila parameter yang diguna tu berbeza, like it's actually mungkin tak kurang in terms of the validity is a bit less. So it will give you different conclusion rather than the second situation. So the key points here is that whatever we are measuring, it must actually fulfill what is our objective. Okay, sebab if let's say the things are not designed correctly, the measurement will be not really accurate and it will give different conclusion. So that's the key points of this. Validity. Okay, validity types. There are 4 types: conclusion validity, internal validity, construct validity, external validity. Conclusion validity, is there a relationship between the 2 variables that you choose? Okay, contohnya, kalau let's say we are testing 2 parameters, ada tak relationship between the 2? And then internal validity, assuming that there is a relationship, is the relationship a causal one? What is the relationship, the cause, what is the factor that internal factor that cause the relationship? Okay, construct validity, whether relate to the way the study is carried out and the way measurements are met. The way the study is carried out and the way measurements are met. Okay, construct validity. Okay, for example, just now yang tadi tu, this one, kan? The way measurements are met. Dia akan influence the validity. What are the things that yang influence the measurement? External validity is external factors that can affect the results of the research. Faktor luar lah. Okay. So ni sebenarnya actually is more to theories lah. Dia nak kata apply sangat, you kena faham je lah. You kena faham the relevance of it. Okay, scientific investigation method. Okay, what are the steps in the topic 4 and 5 ni sama sebenarnya. Okay, so problem, what are the important things when we do a research? Problem of study. What are the problem yang kita nak answer? And then of course we must have hypothesis. Hypothesis means early assumption before you start any experiment. You must have assumption lah apa yang akan berlaku, what will happen, whether you get this result, that result. Okay, and in statistics we study, there are 2 types of hypothesis kan, null and alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis it means that there is nothing happen, although that you change this, there's nothing happen. So that's null hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis is something that will happen, that is contrary to the null. So something will happen because of you change this. Okay, so you must have that 2 sort of assumptions before you start any experiment. Observation. Okay, of course during the experiment you must observe. You must observe, not just observe. You actually have to make make logical deduction statement. Observation means that from the hypothesis too, you have to observe lah from the hypothesis. I don't know why perform experiment is the last. Perform experiment is when you do the experiment. Okay, so when you do the experiment, you measure the things and you get the results. Okay, so that's the basic things about scientific investigation method. The steps in modern scientific investigation. Okay, ni dia punya outline of the steps lah. Okay, it's actually sama je. Problem study, balik lagi problem study. Hypothesis lagi, okay. Anyway, this one is the more detailed one lah. Okay, identify the question, problem. As I said just now lah, devise form of hypothesis. Okay, so this is before you start any research. From the hypothesis, predict possible observation or results. You must have some prediction. Okay, how you want to know the prediction? That one you have to read from previous study. The one that overlaps, mungkin ada macam indicator yang cakap this one will be like this. Yeah, so you must have your early prediction lah. Yeah. And then design experiment. Okay, this one, this word is very important. Design experiment that tests the hypothesis by trying to falsify your prediction. Identify, control your variables, determine the procedure of your experiment. Okay, I think this one you will apply a lot. So what is meant by design your experiment? So maknanya whenever you start an experiment, last time kan bila you start any experiment at school, do you write in logbook apa methods yang you kena buat? Did you practice that? Did you practice that? Yes? Yes, kan? So that is part of designing experiment. You are planning. Designing part of planning lah. Ini sangat penting ya, sangat penting. Maknanya before you start any experiment, you tak boleh, bagi I lah, I dah experience master, I dah experience FYP, I dah experience my PhD. I never start any experiment in the lab without writing in my logbook. Maknanya I tak pernah, I nak buat eksperimen. Okay, in my mind, I want to make this experiment. I want to do this experiment. I tak pernah masuk lab terus buat eksperimen. I tak pernah. Okay, so it means that you cannot do that. You cannot do that. You have to design your experiment. You kena tengok dulu apa benda yang ada kat lab. Equipment ada ke tak? Chemicals cukup ke tak? Okay, and you have to, not just that, you have to know how to do the experiment first. You have to read the methods thoroughly first. So make sure that you have to be prepared. Yes, correct. So that is part of designing an experiment. Okay, bukannya you design ni bukannya macam you lukis ke apa, tak. Design means that you have to plan. You have to plan. Yeah? It's very important. Kenapa? Why you have to plan? Why you have to design? Because it will help you. It will save your time. It will save you lots of hassles in the lab. Okay, dalam lab ni ada banyak sangat obstacles. It's not just about your work. It's also about others' work. Okay, sometimes equipment yang you nak guna, you kena share. And sometimes you have to book the things. You have to know whether betul tak timing you buat ni. Okay, biasanya that's why you kena start experiment very early, as early as possible lah, dalam pagi contohnya. Kalau you nak buat fermentation, you nak start fermentation, it takes longer time. Contohnya 24 hours. Takkan you nak start kerja pukul 3 petang. 3 petang, pukul 5 lab dah tutup. So there are so many things that you have to know. You have to bear lah. So you know that the lab is closed at 5 o'clock, especially during this pandemic time, they don't allow you to work long hours. Yeah. Tak tahulah after this. So you kena plan lah. You tahu lab tutup pukul 5, you plan kerja pukul 8, pukul 9. So that's part of the designing an experiment. I mean, part of the planning. Okay. Identify and controlling your variables. Variables ni bukan saja yang melibatkan you punya work, okay, like the one that you want to control in your experiment, but also around you, external things. External things. Determine the procedure of your experiment. Procedure ni, you have to know the methods, how to use the equipment. That's another thing. You have to learn first how to use the equipment before you do your work, and before you start with your own experiment. Benda tu semua dalam planning, dalam design. Okay. Carry out the experiment to obtain your data. Okay, that one is okay. Tengok yang design tu atas kan. So carry out experiment tu, that is another thing. That is your real work, your real target. The first part tu you kena make sure tu you macam let's say you tahu guna equipment, you have to know it beforehand. You have to know how to use spectrophotometer before you do your work. You have your samples. So kalau let's say you have your samples and you baru nak belajar guna, you punya sometimes direction it takes time. It's time dependent. Sorry. Maknanya reaction tu hanya for 30 second. So takkan you nak baru masa nak belajar equipment, baru nak benda tu dah berjalan. So it's, you know, it will affect your results. So that's part of this step lah. Ini step ni sangat penting ya. Before you start your work for your FYP later. Okay, carry out experiment is another thing. That one is your experiment. Sometimes bila you buat, you plan properly pun experiment tak jadi juga. But don't be upset for that lah. That one is very normal. Tapi step yang ni adalah, you know, it stands by itself. You have to be prepared for it. Experiment, another story. Okay. Collect and analyze your data. So once you start your experiment, it's not just about doing it, you know, just like letting the things go. Let's say you are growing your microbes, kan? It's not just about let the microbes grow. You have to monitor it. You have to observe it. You have to analyze your data. So that is meant by collect and analyze your data. Maknanya once, let's say you ferment, you give the microbes media. Media is food, food in the lab, and you grow it and the microbes grow. So you know that E. coli grow for 24 hours. So it means that during that 24 hours, it's not that you just watch it to grow, you know. So you must do something. So you must know how you want to analyze the growth. There are certain ways how to analyze the growth. So you have to collect the data. Maybe you have to take certain aliquot. Aliquot is like a certain amount of growth daripada culture, from the culture, and you check the absorbance from time to time. Let's say every 2 hours. That's why systematic tadi kan. You kena set lah every 3 hours ke, every 2 hours ke, every 4 hours, 4 hours ke. That one is you have to plan. That's part of the design juga tadi. That is the process is collecting and analyzing your data. Okay. So this one in the lab lah, semua ni dalam lab. Right. And then after you have the data, analyze your data here. It can be two. Analyze the data in the lab. So once you collect the data, you analyze. Tengoklah, check absorbance. Contohnya kan, you have the readings. So another part of data analysis is statistical analysis. Means that once you have the reading, and then what you do with that data, you plot the graph. Okay, you plot the graph. Okay. Data ni pun ada dua lah sebenarnya. You plot the graph, check how the growth looks like. Okay, that is part of data analysis as well. Okay, tapi yang ni akan lebih kepada after the lab lah, data analysis in terms of the statistical analysis too. So this is for you to where you process the evidence. So dia ada kait rapat dengan processing the evidence. So when you process the evidence, you analyze your data, you tengok graph dia macam ni, and then you make the conclusions. Okay, you make the conclusions. And when you make the conclusions, it's very important for you to check your hypothesis, your objective. Your conclusion tu jawab tak your objective. Okay, so in your reports, contohnya you ada dua objective. You must make sure that your conclusion must answer those objectives. Answer doesn't mean that it must be positive results. Contohnya kadang-kadang you tak dapat pun positive result. Positive result means macam mungkin you expect ni tapi you tak dapat sama. But at least you must have the results. You must have the results, and from that results you can conclude lah kenapa dia tak jadi macam ni. There must be few reasons for that. Okay, so conclusion tu mesti jawab objektif. It's used to support and disapprove your hypothesis, and you use that to interpret the evidence. Present the findings. Okay, so itu adalah all the steps in scientific investigation. Okay, why this one is taught? Because we want to make sure you do the right science. Okay, itulah. Sama je sebenarnya. Okay. steps in carrying out research. Ni ada overlap juga lah tadi, problem kan. So you information. Okay, this is what you do in your FYP1. I relate with FYP lah. So this one is when you get the title from the FYP advisor or supervisor. Title. Information gathering is what we call literature review. Okay, this is another term that you have to know. Literature review is a process of reviewing articles. You gather the information from the journal papers. Okay, it's called literature review. Literature review. Okay, so once you have the information, you write the research proposal. This is FYP1. Yang you kena buat tu kan. FYP1. You have to write a research proposal and you have to present orally, oral presentation in 10 minutes. And then 10 minutes. And then after you present to FYP1 to FYP presentation to in the middle of semester. So maknanya lepas you present to you boleh masuk lab sebenarnya. It depends on your supervisor lah. So that is when you start doing your research, accomplishment of research. So this one is also including FYP2 lah. Masa FYP2 tu you sambung balik buat sampai end of the semester, not really end of the semester, macam 3 weeks before the semester ends. Then you have to write the report and you have to present again. Okay, this one is plus oral presentation. Okay, so I hope that could help you to be prepared next semester. Okay. 2 facets of scientific investigation related to the theory of research. Oh, yang tadi tu. Introduction of research to research. So you kena tahu validity lah sebenarnya sini. And then here is when you, I think I have mentioned all the points. Sampling, measurement, design, analysis semua. Okay, the last part, measurement. Okay, measurement. Okay, tak banyak sikit je. Okay, measurement ni is the last part. Kenapa? Why we have to measure? Because we want to collect the data and we have to make sure that our data fulfill our objective kan? Okay. Alright, it's a critical step in scientific investigation. Measure criteria for the quality of measurement, reliability, validity tadi yang mention tadi lah. Sama ada dia kena tak dengan the truth, the true answer. Accuracy, precision. Okay, so these are few concepts that you have to understand actually. Yeah? Reliability has to do with the quality of measurement. Is the consistency of repeatability of what you measures. If your measurement you have no quality, okay. Reliability, so something to do with macam how reliable. Contohnya we can relate with the equipment that we use. Okay, contohnya equipment tu macam mana you nak tahu dia reliable ke tak? So sometimes some of the equipment it needs to be what they call it? It needs to be apa nama dia? Dia ada baseline yang kita kadang kena refer. There is a word for it. Okay, reliability you know lah. Reliability ni maknanya macam how reliable, boleh percaya ke tak equipment ni boleh bagi reading ke tak. Okay, contohnya let's say the spectrophotometer. Spectro is a equipment that you use for measuring absorbance. Then absorbance value yang the measurement is only from 0.1 to 0.9 the values. So that's the reliable range. Okay, contohnya kalau let's say you letak you punya sample and then the spectrophotometer gives you a reading of 1.2. So you know lah this 1.2 is not reliable sebab the acceptable range that we understand the spectrophotometer can give is only between 0.1 to 0.9. So maknanya this kind of things that you have to know. The reliability of the equipments, the reliability of the whatever the apparatus that you are using in the lab. Okay, so how to know whether macam mana equipment ni ada ni range ni, equipment ni ada range ni. So you have to learn lah benda tu you kena faham beforehand. Itu yang training semua, you kena tahulah background of the equipments. Okay, so let's say kalau you tak tahu yang reliability, the range of this, and you just accept je 1.2 ni, sedangkan 1.2 tu tak accurate, you have to do something on your samples, you have to dilute actually. So that's the importance of knowing the reliability of the equipments, the quality of the measurement. Okay, I think you know that lah. Okay, 4 types of reliability. Integrator reliability, test-retest reliability, parallel forms reliability, internal consistency reliability. Okay. Okay, contohnya integrator reliability. Contohnya, integrator, rater ni adalah orang yang berlainan. Contohnya you measure tadi kan, let's say you measure certain sample and you measure the absorbance. You dapat reading, let's say 0. You are rater number 1, rater 1. You get the reading of 0.5. Okay. Another person, you assign lah untuk measure the same sample, and he or she is rater number 2. So dia measure maybe 0.6. Tak jauh beza lah. Okay. And then rater number 3, 0.5 back. So you boleh tengok reliability of the results. Boleh lah, I mean like this one is quite close lah. Okay. So means that there is a reliability. Maknanya betul lah, macam kira bukan 0%. Maknanya this reading is reliable. Okay, but what happen if let's say the reading is 0.1, another person is 0.9, the same sample, and maybe 0.5. So this one is the reliability is very low lah. You cannot really, which one is correct actually, 0.1 ke 0.9 ke 0.5? It's not consistent. So reliability, it can be accessed by assigning different person to measure. Okay, so that is inter-rater reliability. Okay, test-retest reliability. Test-retest reliability maknanya the same person, the same sample, you test lagi, test by test. Maknanya contohnya, let's say you test sample 1, the same sample, okay, at this hour, contohnya kan, the same sample at one time, and then you test lagi at some time later. So test retest lah. So maknanya macam, let's say for the first time you get 0.5. The second time you test, is it 0.5 back or still 0.5 or different? Okay, let's say kalau 0.5 lagi or 0.5, okay, so it's reliable lah sebenarnya. Tapi that kind of checking the reliability, test retest tu is named as test retest reliability. Okay, you test from one time to another time. Okay, parallel forms reliability. Okay, this one is very common when you have replicates. Maknanya you, let's say sample yang sama, you letak dalam bekas yang lain contohnya, okay, but it's actually consists of the same thing. It's just about replicates, okay, and you test. Contohnya in sample 1, sample 2, sample 3. So theoretically it should be the same kan sebab dia sama, benda yang sama. So if let's say the readings are the same, then they are all reliable lah. So tapi the way how you perform this one is called parallel form reliability. Okay. The last one is internal consistency reliability. Is used to assess the consistency of results across items within a test. Okay, yang ni tak sesuai untuk semua situation. Yang ni contohnya macam, okay, let's say you identify, contohnya what we call it in microbiology, you try to identify the identity of certain microbes. Okay, contohnya E. coli. E. coli ni adalah gram negative, kan? Gram negative. So let's say you isolate bacteria, kan? Contohnya isolate bacteria from soil. You tak tahu identity of that bacteria, but you have to do lots of tests in order to identify So maknanya you kena buat banyak test kan, microbiological test. Contohnya staining, gram staining, dia gram negatif ke positif, and then you have to look under the microscope. Adakah dia punya structure, let's say you punya hypothesis dia adalah E. coli. Adakah dia, is it the structure is in rod shape? Kalau gram staining tadi, kalau it will give pink or purple, contohnya macam tu kan. So maknanya dia ada banyak attributes yang you akan check, tapi you nak identify benda tu adalah contohnya E. coli, tapi you buat multiple tests. So that is meant by this one lah, internal consistency reliability. That's why attribute 1, attribute 2, attribute 3, but actually you want to confirm that it is E. coli, tapi you buat banyak test. So tapi yang ni tak sesuai untuk semua situation lah, but that is a kind of reliability, internal consistency reliability. Okay. All right. Okay. About accuracy, precision, I think it can be best described by this. Okay. So I just go directly lah. I tak nak tanya you all. Okay, this one. Kalau tengok ni ya. Maknanya bila you buat eksperimen, contohnya kalau you imagine you buat eksperimen, you dapat result yang semua lebih kurang sama, dekat-dekat lah. So that is called precise. Precise. Maknanya consistent. Okay. So this condition is called precise. Precise. This one, this situation. Okay, what are the conditions of this? Is it precise or not? Tak lah kan, sebab dia scattered. Not precise. This is not precise. Yeah, not precise. Accurate. Okay, accurate. Adakah dia accurate? Ada yang accurate. Contohnya dekat sini dia accurate lah. Sebab dia, let's say the target is in the middle. Yang sini adalah yang kena pada middle tu adalah accurate, and the rest tu dia kurang lah accuracy dia. Okay. Adakah dia valid? Okay, the first one here, is it valid? Valid or not? Kenapa dia valid? Apa yang menyebabkan dia valid ke tak? I nak cut the time, I just, ni lah, tak payahlah tanya you all. Okay, valid ni kenapa? Kenapa dia valid? Sebab dia semua dalam ni kan. Kalau dia tak valid, dia kena keluar kan. Contohnya macam ni. Yang ni tak valid lah. That defines the validity. Validity ya. Okay, contohnya dalam eksperimen pun dia ada macam konsep macam ni jugalah yang you kena imagine. So kat sini dia valid jugalah. Ni this is valid sebab semua the shots are within the target, within the game. So benda ni yang tak valid, this is not valid. Not valid. I think it's better for you to visualize this kind of illustration. Okay, this is not valid. This one is not precise. Okay, in terms of accuracy kalau dia kena pada sini lah, less accuracy lah, I can say, less accuracy, less accurate. Okay, so this one is the third condition, and the last one here, valid, yes. Accurate, yes. Precise, yes. Lagi, reliable, yeah. Reliable. Okay. So dalam, meaning to say that in research, in doing experiment, you have to view your work, the concept, all of these concepts in your work: validity, reliability, accuracy, and precision. Okay, I think that's all for today. Sorry for taking non-stop lectures. Any question? Ada apa yang you tak faham? Okay, take note on terminologies that I have introduced to you today. Yeah, especially those that you will apply in your research letter and your FYP. Okay. Ada apa yang tak faham? Oh yeah, I think I have. Eh, yeah. Thank you for your answer for the forum. Yeah. Hilang balik dah. Sorry. Where is it? Okay. Yeah. So these are your answers for your forum and what makes scientific communication effective. Yeah, clear data accuracy, simplicity, body language when you are communicating, understandable, correct symbol channels. Yeah. Okay, correct. Yeah. So all the points are good. Yeah? Thank you for your answer. All right. So if there's nothing more, then we can just wrap up the session today. Thank you very much for your attention. Okay. Yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Tak ada suara.
Okay, Doktor.
I macam tak, please lah cakap something. Okay, okay. At least I tahu ada orang kat sini. Tak rasa macam I cakap seorang. Okay. Okay, thank you for your attention. See you next week.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Doctor.
Doktor.
Okay, welcome. Yes?
Can I get attendance, Doctor?
Yeah, sure. Can you see?
Teaching group attendance sheets.
This one. Can you see this one? What's your name? Okay, masukkan.
Muhammad Izlan, Doctor. Line slow, Doctor, sorry.
Ya, I rasa dah kot. Dah kot. Okay, tak apa. Nanti I key in. Yeah. Okay, right. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Welcome.